Hello and welcome to the City of Sheboygan Candidate Forums. The Aldermanic Forum will be followed by the Mayoral Forum. I am Faye Urainer, an AAUW member, a local business CPA and financial geek. I own two financial businesses in Sheboygan also I'm a long-term resident and property tax payer of both a commercial and residence. So I will be moderating just the first Aldermanic Forum here, and just an introduction. The City of Sheboygan serves on those that serve as alderpersons on the Common Council, is the city's legislative body. It represents representatives and sets governing policies. The council comprises of 10 elected aldermen, each representing one of the city's 10 districts, with the mayor presiding as chair of the Common Council. The Common Council holds management control over the city property, finances, highways, and navigable waters, and public services. The council positions are 2-year renewable terms. So the election in April is for 4 districts, 1, 3, 5, and 7, and those will be on the ballot on April 1st. If one of these districts is in your neighborhood, they will be on your ballot. My district is not on the ballot this year, so hence I'm here as the moderator. District 1, just a little bit of information then on our candidates. District 1 has an open seat. The race is between Randall Meyer here tonight and his opponent, who's not participating. District 3, we have incumbent Daniel Peterson, who is here tonight, and his challenger is Michael Close, who is also here this evening. District 5, Susie Borse is running unopposed and is not here this evening. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. I stand corrected. I have my eyeglasses need fixing. District 7, incumbent Garcia Perella is being challenged, but her opponent is also not present this evening. Thank you for participating in this forum, and we will get into some questions, a little bit of information. I have pre-prepared questions that came from members of our community and myself. Those questions have not been disclosed to anyone, so they're a bit of a surprise to all of you. We're going to be alternating who will answer the questions first. So we're going to start with Mr. Meyer on the far left. You will be answering the first question and then go down the line, and then the second question will start with Mr. Peterson and then go down the line and go back to the front. And each question you'll have a 2-minute, do we have a timer? Okay. Each question you will have up to 2 minutes to respond, and if you could just speak into your microphone so everyone can hear you. So moving on to the questions. Why are you running for Sheboygan Common Council, and what unique perspective or experience do you hope to bring to the Common Council or have already brought?
Basically, I'm running because of a lack of responsiveness from our current representative in the District 1. I have not heard any replies to any questions I have put to the current alderperson, and my unique perspective is that I feel I'm a very good listener and I'm very open-minded.
Thank you. Mr. Peterson.
Thank you very much. Thank you also to the AAUM for sponsoring this event. That's a great service to our community. My name is Dan Peterson. I live in Ellis Historic District, and I'm the current alderperson for District 3. The main reason that I think I'm running, well, the main reason that I'm running for office is I've always had a lifelong interest in politics and in government. I was a page in the House of Representatives back in 1984 for the state of Iowa, and because of that, I developed a long-standing appreciation and interest in the function of state and city governments. The other thing is I'm really driven with a desire to give back to the community. I came here by kind of just chance circumstances about 27 years ago, and I've raised my family here. I have 5 children and 3 stepchildren, so I've had a lot happen here in the community, and the community's given a lot to me. It's been a wonderful place for me to live. It's a thriving workplace that I have, and I'm just ready to give back to the community.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Close.
Yeah, my decision to run is rooted in a deep commitment to enhance transparency on our local government, drive economic growth.
Could you please speak into the microphone? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Drive economic growth and address the pressing housing challenges our community faces. As president of the Historic Grand Neighborhood Association, I've worked closely with residents and local organizations to foster a sense of unity and trust in the community. Initiatives like our annual Adopt a Family gift drive have been able to meet some of the immediate community needs, but we see that a lot more work needs to be done. One of the key contributions that I think I'd be able to make is promoting transparency in local government. I believe that open communication, clear processes are foundational to building trust in the local community. Professionally, I bring over a decade of experience in program and project management, working along with large-scale programs at the Federal Reserve, where I consult on best practices for all aspects of program management. I've worked to create tools that summarize program information in a way that makes it easy for people to digest and gain valuable insights, and I want to bring that here to the city government.
Thank you. Ms. Bors.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'm Susie Bors, running for District 5, and I, unlike maybe some of the other folks up here, have never had any intentions necessarily of getting involved in public office or being a politician, if you will. I'm at a point in my life where I am passionate about the place that we live here, my husband and I, my kids here in Wisconsin in the Sheboygan community. We're relatively new to the area. We actually chose Sheboygan as our home because it fit really multiple criteria that we were looking for. And we've fallen more and more in love with the community the longer that we've been here. And I really look at this as an opportunity to give back. In terms of unique perspective or what I have to offer, I worked in the contact center industry for about 30 years in a variety of different roles, consistently as a member of leadership teams, managerial and director positions. And I work cross-functionally. I work collaboratively. I am interested in common sense solutions and creative problem solving. And I think that I can contribute that to working with the other members of the council in order to reach, successful decisions for Sheboygan. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Perella?
Thank you. First of all, thank you, AAUW Sheboygan chapter for sponsoring this event, especially to be consistent every year doing that. I have to thank Dulcie especially with that effort. I really appreciate it. My name is Grazia Perrella. I am rerunning for office. I was elected first in 2021 and then again in 2023. There are different reasons. There is never one reason only, even for running, right? It is true, though, that I am a kind of political geek. It always has been an interest of mine. However, it was only later in life that I had the luxury, so to speak. I had a little bit more time. I was more settled here in Sheboygan finally, and I thought I could take that opportunity. So the reasons are mostly very egoistic. I find pleasure in making the city working for its residents. I like to create that communication. I do also want to give back, just like everybody else, and not only to Sheboygan, I would say mostly to this country, which has given me many opportunities that I'm certain I would not have if I had not moved here. And finally, since I don't have much more time, unfortunately, is that I want to make sure that there is a fair presence of women on the Common Council. Thank you.
Okay, the next round of questions, we'll start with Mr. Peterson. What do you see as the 3 most significant challenges the council will need to address in the coming years? I know some of the financial information, the capital plan that is out is a very important document that shows the tens of millions of dollars spent on capital expenditures. Can you help address that and the financial aspect?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think for me, the 3 main areas within the city of Sheboygan that we really need to continue to focus on would be, and I know this sounds like a broken record, is housing. Everybody is tired of hearing about that. We need to continue to have single-family homes, market rate apartments, and affordable options for all people. I think if we have a stronger housing supply, it's going to grow our tax base and support our businesses and help to transition people out of homelessness. The other thing that, from a capital standpoint, the downtown and waterfront projects are big ticket items within Sheboygan, and I know DeLand Park is kind of in the forefront of that conversation right now. I came to this community because of DeLand Park many years ago, and I fell in love with it, and I really want to cautiously advocate for reasonable, improvements that will benefit all of us. Finally, the marina is another area that's been a challenge for the city financially, and I know that we have to come up with some way to continue to improve or to make the marina viable for our community. Our city back in the 1800s was really founded on maritime trade, and we have sails in our logo. So I think that there's got to be some way that we can make that happen. I envision a smaller marina in the future, and I'm running out of time. So thank you.
Mr. Close.
Yes, and I second that in that the housing shortage right now is probably the primary focus in Sheboygan right now. We have a renter vacancy rate of around 1%, whereas a healthy vacancy rate should be around 5 to even 10% in the city. This can result in all kinds of issues with bidding wars and things like that, and that exacerbates the issues with housing. I also agree that additional transparency and looking at the budgeting that's going into all of these high-ticket items, making sure that we have a lot of transparency around how the TIDs are being used to fund a lot of these large-scale programs. We want to have as much transparency and easy-to-digest information about these different programs. The third thing that I believe that would be of most pressing concern is fostering small business growth. We want to make sure that all the small businesses that are in our area have all the tools and things they need in order to grow and expand, not just to start off a big brick and mortar, but to grow from something like a front porch business all the way up to a brick and mortar. A great example of this is something like Sunday Dough. They started off as a front porch business, were able to grow the community around their business, and then they were able to move into a brick and mortar over time. I believe the city should work to create programs around these types of businesses to foster local business growth and strengthen the local community to make sure that we have an ecosystem of small businesses to support the finances of the city. Beyond that, I think a big thing is making sure we support our neighborhoods and make sure that they're walkable, make sure that they're easy to access, and that they're safe. Beyond that, that's what I believe.
So, not to be a broken record, but I think it's not uncommon for us all to say that housing is a primary issue for the community, and I absolutely agree. I think that it's a multi-pronged issue, and it's already been touched on. Vacancy rates are a concern. Unemployment is very low in the city, which is a great thing, but there's a lot of business growth that, businesses would like to see happen, new employees they would like to bring in, but it's a bit of a vicious cycle because we do not have the housing for people to be able to move here to relocate to the area. And I think the part of the crux of that problem, from my perspective, is that we have not had a consistent city planner, and that is currently a vacant position that does need to be filled. I know the city administration is actively seeking to fill that role. I don't think that we can necessarily make the best informed decisions unless we have that role filled. So I think that's a really critical need for the city. And then beyond that, it is making sure that we are taking advantage of all housing opportunities, whether that is single-family homes, duplexes, apartment complexes. We need to be flexible in our approach and make sure that everyone's needs are being met, and that's part of how we will address affordability as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Perella.
Yeah, and the housing issue is a nationwide crisis and issue, as we know, so we are not immune from them. However, I would like to, instead of repeating part of what my colleagues have said, I think that we have a strong responsibility right now to focus in particular on affordable housing. There is a little bit of confusion on that. So the definition of affordable housing is based typically on WHEDA's or HUD's definition, which is 30% of the median household income, and including utility, that is in the definition. Then there is a little bit of discrepancy about what is that median household income in the county and or in the city. In any case, the median household income of the city is much lower than the median household income of the county. And so that definition of affordability has to be taken with quite a bit of attention, right? There is a reality check to do that. We have been, as an administration, we have been working very diligently to create new houses. And we have a lot in the pipeline, and we have at least 17 to 19% of the units that we have developed so far meet that definition of affordability, which is good. However, I think at this point, we have to put our foot down and trying to find investors and developers that are actually willing to invest in real affordable housing. Thank you.
Mr. Meyer.
The three pressing concerns that I have are affordable housing, which has been mentioned. The marina, I'm not a boat owner myself, but the marina's there. I think we need to find ways to make it so that it works, that it's income producing rather than detracting from the city's budget. And also the lowering of property taxes. Many of our citizens are on fixed incomes, and it's probably becoming more and more difficult to afford to pay their taxes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. That is a concern I'd like to then, in this series of questions, kind of follow up on, more relating to the financial aspect. I know many citizens saw a fairly significant increase. The average was probably around 5%, but some saw a 10% increase in their property tax bill. There was the shift from more commercial companies paying taxes in the city to more residential taxpayers paying more of the tax bill, and that was from a document that's on the city website. So what are your plans to really take a look close look at some of those financial expenditures that are part of both our capital plan and our ongoing operational plan, since the Common Council is the legislative body for our for the city government. And this time we will start with Mr. Close. If you'd like me to repeat that question at any point, just let me know.
So could you please repeat that question?
Pardon?
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes. So from a financial perspective, the city has had some significant taxes this past year, and many of our local citizens have been concerned about the average of 5%, but sometimes 10%, and the complete tax rate has gone up about, if I recall right, very significantly over the last 5 years. What specifically do you have in mind to help rein in those increases in taxes that our residents are paying?
Absolutely. So I guess where I would start would be, first we have to get a handle on where we're spending and how we're spending. We need to get more transparency within the financial planning and the reporting. Right now, all of the financial plans, I understand, are reported on ClearGov, and that's great, but there's a big difference between reporting and communicating. So we need to make sure that the community understands where all of the items are being spent and how all of the revenue is being used. That being said, I think a great way to continue to look at spending is to try to get creative with how we're pulling in money. I believe that we should expand grant opportunities, looking to grants throughout the state, making sure that we're utilizing whatever partnerships we can with whatever groups in the area that are helping with any kinds of systems. I know there was a great partnership last night with the SEC looking at the Evergreen Park, and they planned on using their own staff to be able to maintain the Evergreen Park structures after the plan is implemented. So being able to supplement something like that. But also making sure that we're looking at doing incremental and small-scale development. We want to start small, do the smallest, easiest thing first, the cheapest thing first, and that helps the community, that's come from demand in the community, and then work our way from there. That way we can use our money more strategically throughout the city to help individuals as they live in the city, as we determine what their needs are. That, I believe, is how we grow smarter, how we use our funds more in a smarter way, through transparency and incremental growth and a little bit more strategy in how we're spending our money.
Thank you. I'm going to remind us to please speak close to the microphone so we can hear you. Mrs. Bors.
Thank you. I think this is a good example of a question that I don't have all the information to provide the best answer at this point in time. I've been attending the meetings with the council since the beginning of the year consistently to try to get a better understanding of the concerns that we have across the community and the issues that are being addressed. I think that when it comes to taxes, it's a topic that everybody's passionate about on one side or the other. I think we all would love to see our taxes be lower, but I think it's a fact of life that we need those that tax revenue in order to be able to fund the initiatives we have within the city. I do think that it's important that we foster an environment where businesses are attracted to the community, but lowering taxes for businesses is not the only way to do that. And I do think that we need to ensure that everybody is paying their fair share when it comes to that perspective. There has been a lot of discussion and a lot of shared insights here, I think, about transparency. I think that ensuring that people understand how money in the city is being spent, why it is being spent, and having clear communication with all of our constituents is really important. I know that's something consistently that I've heard that there have been concerns with in the past, and I think opening up those lines of communication so that we are all better informed about how our money is being spent within the city is essential.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Perella.
Yeah. So I think that our properties were not assessed for about 10 years. So we had a citywide reassessment, I believe, 2 years ago. I cannot make any promises, of course, but I see that the city is more right now is working very hard to increase revenues that are not related with property taxes. So property taxes, together with shared revenue from the state and the feds, are about 60-65% of the revenue of the city. So we have to work on that. What we have more control as a city, I believe, is that 40%. That 40% of our budget can come, so it has to be other revenues. Those revenues come only from a broader tax base. And so the city, as it is working right now, we are increasing that tax base by new constructions, and we are working on that pretty strongly, and of course businesses. So we as a city cannot rely on property taxes alone, although you are right, they were increased last year and 2 years ago. But we are working very well right now. This city administration is working very well to increase revenues from other sources, and that's what will help to keep the city strong, as I think it is right now.
Thank you. Mr. Meyer, same
I think
question.
Grazia hit the nail on the head. We need to increase the tax base. And like she said, the best way to do that is to attract new businesses. There's a lot of room at the South Point Business Park. And also to watch our spending. Thank you.
Mr. Peterson.
Yeah, thank you very much. There's a lot of sources for revenue here in the city. I know shared revenue from the state is about $2 million in 2024. And we also get a lot of revenue from grants, as was already mentioned. There are public charges, utility fees for like garbage pickup licenses and permitting fees and things like that. One of the options would potentially be to think about trying to increase some of our revenue potentially from those sources as well. I know years ago there were special assessments that were made for people that had like a sidewalk that needed to be fixed in front of their house, and a portion of that money would come out of the resident's pocket instead of having that come out of the general taxpayer property tax pool. We also do have a sales tax in Sheboygan, and Sheboygan County does assess an extra 0.5% tax on sales, and a large portion of that does not come to the city of Sheboygan, and I know that that's been a contention for quite a while with the county. We have 50,000 people here. That's about 50% of the population of the entire county, yet we have only a small portion of the proceeds from those sales taxes. And then finally, increasing the tax base and increasing the density of our population within the city would help immensely by creating that larger tax base without having to pay for the additional costs of infrastructure. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So the 5-year capital plan, CapEx plan for the city has a $233 million expenditures. 45 million of it is for city buildings, 37 million for streets, 67 for wastewater management. I just kind of would like to understand, have you reviewed our CapEx expenditure budget, and do you feel that it's adequately allocated, and do you have any comments on it? Mrs. Bors, could you please?
I have reviewed it. I have, as to the allocation of the funds, as you had mentioned, I wouldn't say that I have enough expertise or knowledge yet to determine whether or not that would be the case, with the allocations being appropriate or not. This would definitely be something that I need to learn more about as I join the council, but I don't really have any additional comments in terms of how those funds have been earmarked at this point in time. I bet Grazia does, though.
Ms. Priscilla.
Yeah, so my view on this is that, yeah, there are opportunities to be careful with some of those, but the truth is that in order to be a very good functioning city, to attract businesses, to look after the well-being of our residents, we have to have the ability as a city to provide high standard services. And so the investment that the city makes on regular basis on city buildings, on the utilities building, and so on, are indispensable, are crucial, are essentials. I don't see us, we try, of course, to be good steward of taxpayers' money, but that is a type of investment that in most cases, I approve, especially when it comes to keep a high standard of services, when it comes to keep a high standard of safety. So when it comes to training for the fire department, so buildings for the fire department, I want our city to have the highest service possible, and therefore that type of investment is needed.
I have no real knowledge of the capital expenditures, so I don't really have any comments about this topic.
Okay. Mr. Peterson.
And thank you very much. I am this is not also my area of expertise. I'm a physician by trade, and I don't sit on the finance committee. I will say that we do I know we spend a lot of money on safety, public safety here in the police force and the fire department. I think that's one of the largest expenditures that the city has. And personally, I just can't see us cutting back on those expenses within our city. One of the things I know the administration is doing is we're really trying to seek outside sources for a lot of the amenities that we want to try to bring into the city. Case in point is DeLand Park. The plan for that was presented to us last year by the Smith Group was for a potential of $77 million to actually make that come to fruition. And I don't think there's anybody on the Common Council right now that has any desire to spend that kind of money to bring that park to what was brought up in that plan. But we are seeking state funds to try to help alleviate some of the costs to at least start with the marina. And, I don't get the feeling in general that this Common Council has been wasteful in spending, that we're really trying to be mindful when it comes to making sure that we don't spend taxpayer dollars unnecessarily. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Close.
All right. After having reviewed the capital expenditures, I did compare them to other like-sized cities, and it is comparable to cities that are similar, especially in the north of the United States. The maintenance is generally seen as a larger capital expense going forward. So we want to make sure we keep an eye on any larger projects and making sure that we account accurately for any potential expenditures related to maintenance and things like that whenever we go to make a major expense. That would be the one thing that I'd really like to focus on the most, is making sure that when we do a major capital investment, we are accounting for it over time and incorporating any potential maintenance fees and being very conservative with how we account for that. So making sure that we take in disasters and things like that whenever we go through our expenditures. We were lucky to have a couple of mild winters previously, so that definitely doesn't take a toll on things like buying new snow plows and things like that. But when we're looking at large-scale capital expenditures, we do want to make sure we're taking a really close look at maintenance fees and things like that as time goes on. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next series of questions, we'll start with Mrs. Perella. one question was asked is, how can we cut through some of the red tape we have at City Hall? And a number of organizations have shared that with me, and I've experienced that myself, where you need a sign and it's a 6-month or longer project, and I'm like ready to just pay somebody to just whatever money it takes to get it done because I don't want to deal with the red tape. And one specific example is, so how can the city government support and encourage more of our local nonprofits to develop and grow the city and give more to the community and cut through that red tape? And one example is, as was mentioned, the Sheboygan County Cycling Corporation is a nonprofit, was simply seeking from our Common Council to get approval for some trail revitalization, no cost to the city, but get the ball rolling, or it gets pushed off a long term. How can we help do that collaboration to cut through the red tape to get things accomplished that are good for the city, that involves the nonprofits that are really working to help the city get there?
First of all, let me tell you, I agree completely, right? And I don't know that there are many, red tape is a common feature of most city administration. That's a little consolation, but it is also true, right? However, there are many ways. One way is to streamline the operation of the current departments, and that's something that we are focusing on. And that means faster responses. And of course, stability in our departments. We are working on that. That means faster responses. But I think that the Common Council can help with that too. And that it comes to how well we work to facilitate the communication between residents and organizations and individuals and so on. I personally feel that that is a big part of our role. I think that besides all the priorities, that is my priority number one. I want to make sure that the city works for its residents, it works for its businesses, and it seems like almost a little thing or it's a trivial thing. It is not at all, because there is a barrier there that almost in the nature of the city and the city administration, that barrier has to be facilitated and smoothened. But mostly I'm thinking, again, I have heard complaints about that type of response as well. I have to say, however, that being on this side makes us more aware of all the nuances and intricacies that are in decisions, even like the one that we discussed on a project that seemingly has no cost to the city, but in fact, there are many aspects that need to be looked at.
Mr. Meyer.
Would you please repeat the question?
Yes. How can our city government help support and encourage more of our local nonprofits to develop and grow the city and give more to the community and cut through the red tape that's required by nonprofits and also businesses in our community?
Well, from what I have seen, there are procedures that need to be followed in order to get projects started and completed. It just needs to be maybe looked at so that those procedures can be condensed. Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you very much. The city, obviously, working with any city is going to be you're going to be dealing a lot with bureaucracy, and it can be challenging at times. When it comes to efficiency in general, I know that the city and the mayor and the city administrator have been working to try to make things more efficient. One of the things just recently that we did is we combined the Architectural Review Board with the City Planning Commission and with the city review planning, and by doing that, it kind of helps the developers not have to come on multiple days to actually get a project approved. With respect to the SCC, I am a huge advocate of biking, and I discussed this with them previously. I've seen their presentation at the Parks and Marina and Forestry Board, and I've seen it at the Public Works, and I've been 100% supportive of that. The issue with the SCC was that when they presented that to the Common Council, the first district was not represented. And I personally, even though I definitely want that to go through eventually at some point in the future, I felt like it was worthwhile to delay that just so that the people in that district could feel like they had representation and somebody that could further discuss it. So unfortunately, in that case, I did vote against allowing that to happen, and we're going to delay that until the next Common Council.
Mr. Close.
All right, I think the best medicine is prevention.
Please speak up to the microphone.
I think the best medicine in this case is prevention. I think what we need to do in a lot of the cases where there's a lot of red tape is we need to get ahead of it. We need to have some kind of liaison or some kind of representative from city government there to help with the local organizations that are trying to get things done in this community. I recently had the opportunity to sit down with the Housing Coalition, and seeing the number of groups that were there to represent the unhoused people in this town was fantastic. But what they needed was some kind of liaison, some kind of support from the city in order to coordinate those efforts and direct them in a more efficient way so that we could all work together to help with that issue in unison. Helping with other organizations, speaking from the point of view from working with the neighborhood association, we've had terrific liaisons within the city, and being able to work with them to get ahead of any questions that we had or trying to organize events has been hugely helpful. So I think really the biggest way to get ahead of red tape is to make sure that the city is embedded with a lot of these different groups and participating in those events that they're putting on to make sure that they are in the know about what they need ahead of when they need it, so they don't encounter red tape when things become an issue. Thank you.
Ms. Bors.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Mr. Close just said. I was also part of the conversation that happened on our unhoused citizens, and the passion of those nonprofit organizations is readily apparent. But there's obviously a high level of frustration there as well, because they're not necessarily feeling like they're getting the momentum or the resolutions that they need. And I have the word liaison written down here because I also agree. I think that while it's a very different, the plans for Evergreen Park are a very different type of issue, obviously, than homelessness. But I think that there's a common problem there, and it seems to be a lack of connection or communication. And I think having setting ourselves up for success, if you will, on the front end with clear, open, concise communication, with clear expectations, and encouraging those dialogues between parties who might be on either side of that issue, to encourage them to discuss and have a better understanding. Even since the council meeting that just happened, I had somebody reach out to me about Evergreen Park and want to kind of lobby, their side of the issue. And in talking with people on both sides, it seems like there's just a disconnect about what the level of understanding is, and some sort of liaison type of advocacy, I think, would be very beneficial to the nonprofits in our community.
Next series of questions, we'll start with Mr. Meyer. And our city has paid for quite a few studies over the years. One of the residents has said there's been studies galore from should we have a grocery store downtown, and it didn't include any of our downtown current local grocery stores, but other big retail grocery stores within the city. there's been the marina study, there's been housing studies. So, we're spending quite a bit of funds on outside studies for these organizations. And, is there a way we can get more community involvement with some of these? That downtown retail. I am downtown. I didn't even know it happened. So, is there any better way we can get some better communication, understanding of getting these studies done by outside consultants out of our state sometimes, and just having more community communication with some of those?
Well, ever since the Sheboygan Press no longer became a real entity in Sheboygan, there hasn't been a lot of communication between the government and the citizens of Sheboygan. I think part of the responsibility is also on the citizens to attend meetings so that they know what's going on. But I do feel that somehow city government needs to be more transparent in what they're doing. How we do that, I'm not really sure. Maybe some type of a newsletter that could be sent out on a monthly basis. Thank you.
Mr. Peterson.
Thank you. That's a good question. It's a tough one to answer. Yes, there's a lot of studies, and I personally find them very helpful to kind of at least give me a better idea of kind of what the problems are within our city. The city does have community events where they do bring community members out to talk about certain potential concept plans. We've been doing that as recent as last summer for DeLand Park and for Evergreen Park. And, I think those have been very well attended, and there's been a lot of input that's been provided by the citizens. We do have a newsletter. If you go to the website, every month there's a newsletter that's printed out that kind of provides the community with a lot of information about all the different events that are going on in the city, so that is available. On that note, I do think that we are now coming to the age where social media and a better web presence with respect to our city would be very beneficial. I think there's definitely our website that we right now have for the city is getting old. Some of it doesn't work very well, and I think if as time goes on, if we could improve that website to make it more amenable to people being able to get access to it and finding the information that they need would be very beneficial.
Thank you. Mr. Close.
Yeah, and I agree. I think growing up here in Sheboygan, city government was always a black box. You barely ever knew outside of reading the
Speak in your microphone.
Outside of reading the Sheboygan Press, you barely ever knew whenever there was an issue that was actually taking place in the city. So I do believe that we could stand to expand our online presence, increase social media posts, and I do think, the Sheboygan Insider newsletter that is being published is a great resource, and I recommend anybody subscribe to it. I also propose that we enhance people communication by creating a series of town halls, or being able to allow for people to submit questions to Common Council meetings so that people who are busy parents or third shift workers or whomever who lives in the city can submit a question about an issue and have it answered in the Common Council meetings or addressed personally to them and have that question answered. I know a big part of what it is to be in city government is responsive to individual needs, but I do believe that also being able to be transparent in a town hall or having virtual Q&A sessions, it could also go a long way to communicating what's going on in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Boers.
I agree as well with the comments that have been made. I do think that from a communication perspective and accessibility of information, we definitely have opportunities with the city. The website is quite dated. We have an app. I don't know how many people have downloaded the Sheboygan app, but it does leave some to be desired when it comes to the functionality of it. I would definitely like to see that overhauled and improved. Frankly, even being able to find a schedule of events and search that information and find it very easily can be challenging. So I think that accessibility of information and variety, the variety of ways that people can access that information through an app, on the website, subscribing to the newsletter, I think there just needs to be much more communication opportunities for people to get in the know about what's going on in the city, whether that's very specifically for studies that are happening, for public engagement that needs to happen. And I do think that the council meetings are relatively dry affairs, and it would be great for us to have more opportunities for engagement in those meetings. I love the idea of being able to submit questions or to have a separate forum really to entertain questions and to make announcements that the community can get more engaged in. They're also not very well attended. This is a much bigger group than at most of the meetings, which is nice to see. But any way we can create that engagement, I think, would be a positive thing.
Thank you. Ms. Perella.
Yeah, I agree. We all need, definitely there is a need for more engagement. However, each time that as far as I remember, each time we have commissioned and studied for a big project, there always have been a mandatory outreach, public outreach. There have been town halls, there have been events to gather information, surveys, and so on. Unfortunately, there is always a timing to it. So everything may happen within 30 to 60 days. If you, by any chance, have not heard about it within that range, you may have lost the opportunity of participating directly to that. And it happened to me as well. I have to say also, no justification, I'm not trying to justify, but there is so much going on all the time. I try to keep engaged with the many initiatives and organizations in Sheboygan because I think it is part of our roles to do so, and I had to do that, and I have a hard time to actually keep up. So it's not that easy. I would say that there is another element I would consider in this situation is that not only we have to make sure that that outreach goes further and it is intentional, but we also have to make sure that the inputs from the public are actually reflected in those projects. What I have been experiencing is that not always is the case. So what happens is that these companies often, they go through their modus operandi. They have to do step by step what they have to do, including the public outreach. But then are those inputs and suggestions and recommendations really reflected in the plan? I think we have to pay close attention to that as well.
Okay. Thank you. The next series will start with Mr. Peterson. We had earlier, a number of you had as one of your top priorities affordable housing in Sheboygan. What is your vision in the future for our downtown Sheboygan and the approach to revitalization? We know there are several businesses that have been purchased, the Wells Fargo building, the Fountain Park restaurant. And what are you seeing as the vision for the future of downtown Sheboygan?
Thank you. I think the primary goal, this gets right back to our housing dilemma that we have. And again, this is a national problem. The state of Wisconsin, it's estimated that they're going to need 200,000 units by the year 2030 in order to accommodate all the people that we have that are going to be living within the state. Sheboygan is no different than any community in the state of Wisconsin. And what I envision, and again, I can't can't talk about specifics because either they're not known at this point in time or some of them are still kind of being guarded. But what I think one of the primary goals that Sheboygan needs to think about is increasing its population density within the downtown. I think that there's so many benefits to that. It'll help to solve our housing dilemma if we have a variety of different types of housing units in the downtown area. And the advantage to that is that it's going to help with alleviating the costs of the infrastructure that would be needed. I know that we have the Gartman Farm and the Poth Farms on the south side, but the disadvantage of those places is that there's a huge cost in getting the sewer and the streets and everything to that area. We already have that established in our downtown. And I think at this point in time, I see our city starting to grow up instead of growing out. That would be the main thing. And that'll help in so many ways. The other thing is that'll also help the businesses in our downtown. If we have more lives in downtown, if we have more life in the downtown, if we have more lives in the downtown, we're going to have more life in the downtown, and we'll have more people walking around and going to the local businesses. So I think it's a benefit for all.
Thank you. Mr. Close.
Yes, I completely agree. I think that we need to increase density in the city as quickly as possible. I think we're at a deficit now of about 3,000 housing units of all types in the city, just to meet current demand. I think two good solutions to helping this would be to seriously look at accessory dwelling units, giving the ability for people in the city to build on their own property a small, tiny house or something like that. That way, people who are just starting out or people who are looking to downsize, you would have a small house or something like that to be able to rent in somebody's property. That way you'd increase density and you'd still be able to have the single family homes that everybody knows and loves in Sheboygan, and you'd be able to increase that density right away. That would take a lot of work for making sure that the Public Works Department understands the demand that would be placed on things. It would also take a lot of work to make sure that we have standardized designs, but I believe that Sheboygan has the ability to take care of that. Another solution is to take a look at the zoning codes to make sure that we are prioritizing mixed-use developments wherever possible, to make sure that the number of apartments going into areas is as many as we can, so that we can meet the housing demand as soon as possible and drive those housing costs down. The sooner we can get those housing costs down, the ripple effects that happen from having high housing costs can start to be alleviated. But only when we increase that density can we get there. Thank you.
Ms. Bors.
Density is the word of the night on this topic. I think I'm totally aligned, completely agree. I think that we have so many opportunities in areas that people may not see them for housing, and downtown is a really great example. We don't need to spread further out. I've lived in communities where towns just spread, and it creates more and more demand on the city for the infrastructure needs and maintaining that infrastructure. We already have the infrastructure downtown. If we embrace the opportunities that exist to create more density there, it's definitely going to be a huge benefit to us. I think the point about the ADUs is interesting. I had a conversation with our city administrator recently, because I personally have been a big fan of the ADUs, and we had a great conversation about ADU versus PUD. I learned a lot in that conversation. Ultimately, I think we already have the opportunity to use the PUDs to create similar resolutions. It actually is a benefit to the city because we have a better ability to regulate it and make sure that those are built safely, correctly, so that there's no negative impacts to the residents who end up being in them long term. And so I think that's another solution that we can definitely promote in the community. It was educational for me, and I think that we should encourage other people to learn about those opportunities to create density on their own as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned a few projects. Some of them, in fact, are public, some not. But we are on the right trajectory. We are focusing on all possible developments close to downtown and everywhere else in the city. Yes, zoning codes have to be updated. That is crucial. The allowing for infills, allowing for duplexes, and so on. That is all very important and crucial. I'm thinking, if I remember correctly, you asked about a vision, right, for the downtown. I think that the idea of some of the big projects that are in the works right now, although have not been approved, could help greatly with creating a more vibrant downtown and to revitalization of the downtown. And I'm referring to the Fountain Park potential project, as well as, although only in some, in a smaller percentage, the Marina project. And that because what I'm thinking is always that there is a disconnect between two sides of the town, of the city, and especially that I would like to see that connection between, for example, the riverfront area, which is vibrant already, and that area towards the marina. We have there now a possible attractive piece, a lot, which is the former armory, that could be developed in with a mixed use. And who knows, maybe there will be other projects that connect the riverfront with that area, and then perhaps the marina, again, only in some percentages could be that connection. Thank you.
Thank you.
I agree with everything that has been said. There have been a number of housing projects completed recently, and I believe there are several more in the works. We just have to wait for them to be completed. Thank you.
Okay, the next series of questions, we'll start with Mr. Close. And let's see here. I appreciate that it was brought up that there is the Sheboygan newsletter that we have, and I think we all suggested it would be wonderful to be able to communicate more with the citizens, particularly since we don't always have a high presence with the local newspapers doing press articles. So you personally, is what are your other suggestions of maybe getting the word out there via those newsletters that I wasn't even aware of on social media or on other platforms to really help engage the public in improving our city?
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, with the expanding our social media presence, I think getting on as many social media platforms as possible, or finding some way to drive a singular social media post here and there. I know Nextdoor, there's a lot of Nextdoor posts that go on for the city. Also making sure that we have maybe creating a series of town halls in order to allow people to come in person and meet them where they are. Make sure you're going to local businesses where people like to be, like go to Three Sheeps, go out to different bars and restaurants that people enjoy, and work with those local businesses to coordinate being able to communicate with the patrons there. I also feel that making sure that people can submit questions offline anonymously is a big important piece as well. So being able to answer people's questions offline, so that people who are working and people who are taking care of kids, and it's very difficult to stay connected to the city, are able to engage with the city as they need. But beyond that, I do believe that there's a lot of opportunities for city employees, Common Council, to get out into the city and directly communicate with the people, engage with neighborhood associations, engage with the different organizations that are out there, and directly have a conversation. I think that's the most valuable thing you can do. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Bors, and I'm just going to add, we have about 10 minutes remaining, and then we can probably, after this series of questions, have you do a 1-minute conclusion before we have the mayoral forum. So, Mrs. Bors.
Thank you. I think that in-person connections are very important. I do think that there's nothing like being able to meet and talk with people face-to-face. But at the same time, I know that everybody does lead very busy lives, and I know that we really are very much in a digital world. And I do think that it is important in order to improve communication that we have a unified approach to communication. So if we have multiple social media platforms, if we have an app, if we have a website, I think we need to be consistent in delivering information in all of those forums so that everybody has the opportunity to kind of take advantage of what works best for them. I know we've already covered the topic, but the app I think leaves a lot to be desired. The website does need to be updated. I think work to unify our communications across those and maximize our social media would be a great way to create more connections with the community.
Ms. Perella?
Yeah, I cannot avoid but being optimistic in the sense that I have seen the city coming a long way when it comes to communication. Long way. Although a friend of mine who used to be on this side of the Common Council always was insisting that we would need a full-time communication role, and perhaps that's what we are missing. So that would help tremendously, in addition to all the suggestions that have already been made. I am a little bit I hope that people would reach out more often. I think that the Common Council and the elder people have that main responsibilities of being responsive to residents. Whenever someone reaches out, we have to respond. We have to inquire. We have to provide information. And so I would suggest the community at large to use that opportunity more often. And we make an effort also as elder people, I'm sure everybody on the Common Council does, to try to keep engaged and up to date with what is happening in the community so we can have also that role of facilitating that communication. So that I was talking to a resident of mine who called me a couple of days ago, and he would not know of some things I just mentioned to him about the community cafe and the warming center because he asked for some specific questions. He didn't know about those. So you see, it's not only the city's activity, it's also other activities, and that happens all the time. Thank you.
Mr. Meyer.
I also agree with the town hall meeting, perhaps done quarterly, and maybe it would be held at Mead Public Library. It's centrally located, and it's a very fine facility that we should be using to our benefit. Thank you.
And I will just pretty much echo everything that everybody has already said. I mean, social media to some of our, some of us are disgruntled by it, but I think that that's kind of the way of the future. One of the things that I've done to try to communicate more with my constituents is I've started to establish a social media presence on the various platforms, and I use that for informational basis, and I certainly plan to use that more for informational basis for the constituents going forward if I'm reelected. It's a challenge because one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of times, especially like Nextdoor, for example, I think with people posting anonymously, it can devolve into just a cesspool and be a real challenge. And I think what I would try to advocate for is a social media presence on platforms where people are held accountable. We all know who they are. And I think also just using our telephone, we're available by phone, we're available by email, and we all answer our phones and answer our emails. And I think if we just continue to advocate for some of those more old-fashioned ways of communicating with us and trying to get the word out, I think that that's going to work fairly well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you would like to have a minute of a closing comment, that will conclude our questions this evening. Thank you for being gracious hosts or answers with those questions. And why don't we start with, I think you were the last question, right, Mr. Close? So Mrs. Bors.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting the forum. Appreciate everyone's time tonight. Thank you for attending. I have the luxury of running unopposed for District 5. This has been a very interesting experience for me. I welcome outreach from anybody in the community. Very eagerly learning more every single day about this opportunity that I'm looking forward to easing into very, very soon. So thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions.
Ms. Priscilla.
Thank you. Thank you, AUW, again, for sponsoring this fabulous event. I know we have a larger audience because everybody is anxious to attend the Mayoral, but we are lucky. We use that very well. I mean, we are happy about it anyway. Please know that I hope that the audience knows, and the people listening from home or that will watch this recording, they know that I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about this city. And I remain available to all the residents. I do my best I may not have the answers right away, but I definitely do my best to help out. I hope that many of you will reach out from my district. Please go vote. Even if you don't vote for me, go vote anyway, but please vote for me. April 1st. Thank you.
Mr. Meyer.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this evening. And thank you once again to AAUW for sponsoring this forum. And if you live in District 1, I would appreciate your vote on April 1st. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I came here in part because of a Reader's Digest article that I read back in 1984. Sheboygan was the best place to raise a family, and I still believe that that's true. It's been a great honor and privilege to serve in this position over the last year, and I vow to continue to foster transparency and collaboration and focus on Sheboygan's real needs as we go forward. I still believe that we can keep Sheboygan moving forward together and making it a more livable, more safe and inviting environment. I came here because Sheboygan was the best place to raise a family. I've raised 8 kids here, and 27 years later, and I still believe that that's true about this city. Now I want to give back to Sheboygan and do everything that I can, and I'm asking for your help. My name is Dan Peterson. I'm running for District 3, and I'd really appreciate your vote. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for hosting this event. My name is Mike Close. I'm running for District 3. I'm a passionate Sheboyganite. I've lived here all my life, and I've watched it grow into what it currently is, a diverse, promising city with a lot of growth potential and a lot of things going on. I actually left for a little while and came back in 2020 with my family because we saw the potential, we saw the growth, we saw what was happening in Sheboygan, and we want to do more of it. We want to support the small businesses that are ready to grow. We see all of the small carts and things like that at the farmers markets ready to grow, ready to be larger businesses and going forward. We also want to make sure that people can live here. It's always been a great place to live, and we want to make sure more people can come here and housing is more accessible. So again, thank you very much. My name is Michael Close. Please vote April 1st.
Thank you very much. Again, we appreciate your service to our community. I also want to thank our standing room only audience for being part of this, and our online audience as well. I want to thank Scott McAuliffe and WSCS for taping the forum, and let's see here, and running it through their schedule with the election. Just want a public service announcement. Don't know if you can see this, but myvote.wi.gov is where you can find a ballot to know exactly what will be on the ballot for your district. April 1st, a reminder, is the Tuesday, April 1st is the election. And we will have about a 15-minute break. And at 7:30, we'll reconvene for the mayoral forum between the two candidates. So thank you again. Have a good evening.
Okay, hello. This is the candidate forum for the candidates running for mayor for the city of Sheboygan. Thank you all for coming tonight and for participating in local government. I am Jane Kettler and am a member of the Sheboygan chapter of the the American Association of University Women, also known as AAUW. AAUW is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse candidates at any level of government. I want to thank John Bellinger and Mayor Ryan Sorensen for participating, and now we'll get started. First, each candidate may very briefly introduce himself, and then I'll begin the questions. For the candidate introduction, we'll start with John.
Thank you, Jane, and I'd like to give a special thanks to Dulcie for setting this up. I greatly appreciate it, and thanks again, Dulcie. Also, Scott, and for sponsoring as well the AAUW program. This is a wonderful event, and hopefully people will get a lot of information from this. So again, thank you. My name's John Bellinger. I am a 30-plus year resident of Sheboygan. I started out with my wife, Therese, and bringing our family here. We ended up at Eisner Apartments, of the Courtyard Apartments. We moved into a smaller house shortly after that, and then we migrated into the house that we're at today, and we've been there for over 30 years. We've raised 3 children in Sheboygan. They went to Holy Name School, and then they went to Sheboygan North, and they all had a fantastic education. And right now, I've been on the council for 8 years, between 2012 to 2018. I also was just reelected last April. I've served on almost every committee, and I look forward to serving as mayor. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, John. Ryan.
Thank you. Well, again, thanks AAUW for hosting this forum tonight. Thanks, Jane, for moderating this debate. It's been a great honor to serve as the mayor of my hometown these last 4 years. And with all the support across the city, I'm so excited to run for election. As most of you know, I was born and raised right here in Sheboygan in a working class family, went to South High School and graduated from UW-Milwaukee. And after college, I was elected to the city council in 2017, where I served for 4 years and my last year as council president. And I was elected mayor in 2021. I know that Sheboygan has so much opportunity and potential, and we have so much more work to do. As your mayor, I'll continue to focus on solutions that make a difference in real people's lives. That means safer neighborhoods, better public service, of course, fixing the roads. And over the past few years, we've done so much by working together and talking with our residents to improve our city. Over the last 4 years, we were able to complete 52 road repair projects, invest in our library, build a new senior center, and strengthen our neighborhood associations. So tonight I'm looking forward to having a conversation and looking forward to sharing our vision and hopes and ideas. I know this is a city that both John and I love, and we're excited to move our city forward together. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Now we have 17 questions for you. 13 of those will be posed to both candidates, and with those questions, we will alternate who gets to answer the question first. So for the first question, we'll start with John. What do you hope to accomplish during your term as mayor, and what are your goals as mayor?
Well, thank you for the question. My goals are to number one, create a comprehensive plan. The state mandates that municipalities have a comprehensive plan. It should be updated every 10 years. Sheboygan's hasn't been updated since 2011. What that does is it drives all the decision-making for economic development, capital improvements, that type of thing. So it's kind of a roadmap for the city to allocate its funds and determine what projects are of the greatest importance. As we all know, cities have limited resources, and so that is a big thing. Right now, we don't have a comprehensive plan, and I think that's really hindering the decision-making process, and it's kind of a shotgun approach right now, and I don't think that's the way to move forward. Also, I would like to look at addressing the homeless issue. It is a concern with the downtown area. I was here for the homeless issue, the committee of the whole meeting last week, and it is something that does need to be addressed, and I would do that in a collaborative way with all the stakeholders. And also, we're going to have open, honest, and transparent administration. Right now, I don't think that's what's going on, and I think we need more transparency, and I can get into that further, but thank you.
And Ryan, what do you hope to accomplish during your term as mayor, and what are your goals as mayor?
Thank you. Yeah. So I think first and foremost, we need more housing in our community all across the board, from single family homes to duplexes and townhouses. Over the last several months, we've been going on what I've been coining our road show, talking with many of our local employers, businesses big and small, making sure that we have enough housing to strengthen our workforce and bring people to Sheboygan. We live in a wonderful community. We want to make sure that we're building more housing across the board, investing in local businesses, and investing in public safety as well as we grow as well. I think, that's a collaborative approach, from supporting our police department to investing in our neighborhood associations to working with the county and strengthening our crisis co-response team as well. When we grow, we have to make sure that we're investing in those resources to keep our community strong and investing in public safety with the growth as well. So housing, public safety, workforce development.
All right, second question will go first then to Ryan. What are the three biggest challenges facing the city of Sheboygan?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, cities are on tough budgets. In Wisconsin, we depend too much on property taxes. So I think whenever we're working on a budget, when we need to invest in our employees, in the community, in our infrastructure as well, making sure that we have the investments and the funds that we can to support our community long term, I think that's the biggest one right now. I think, obviously, the housing shortage is a national issue that's impacting our community. I think we just rolled out our new housing study that said we have to build 5,200 new housing units across the city in the next 5 years to meet the current demand. And a lot of that drive is to support our local businesses. For our businesses to survive, they need to have housing so that they can have a strong workforce as well. So we need to get collaborative. We have to have a collaborative approach with many nonprofits, with developers, construction agencies, nonprofits. The list goes on and on for housing as well. So, and I think making sure that we have, again, to John's point, have that open and honest communication across the board when we're talking with nonprofits, when we're talking with community members. I think that's how we get problems solved. That's how we lift each other up, and that's how we work together to solve all our problems.
And John, then, what do you believe are the three biggest challenges facing the city of Sheboygan?
Again, this is going to sound like, we're beating a dead horse, but the housing is the number one issue. And what we need to do is come up with a way that we can have affordable housing, rental units, as well as single-family homes. So the affordable the apartments get young people to come to Sheboygan. The single-family homes get them to stay to Sheboygan and raise their families. And I think that is what we need to look at. I was fortunate enough to work with the Memorial neighborhood right where I live and the city administrator in coming up with a plan for that development. So there's going to be 21 single-family homes in that development that is going to kind of mirror the charm in the the current look of the neighborhood. So the neighbors are thrilled with that approach. Again, hopefully these will be homeowners that stay for a long duration and raise their family here. So also we need to look at being fiscally responsible. In the past year, we've had $380,000 worth of lawsuit settlements that have been paid, and some of that has been self-inflicted, and that doesn't account for the legal fees. So that is an issue too that we need to address. And again, one of the things that we need to do in addition with the housing is the South Point Business District or Industrial Park. That is empty. We're paying for the infrastructure right now. I believe we're only paying interest on that loan, and we may be borrowing for that. I have to look into that, but that is an issue that can help build the community, bring jobs, and expand the tax base.
Okay, third question goes first to John. What are the 3 greatest assets of the city, and how would you build upon them?
Well, I think the greatest asset of the city is the people in the community. Sheboygan is a wonderful, wonderful area. It was alluded to in the previous debate that I think Dan Peterson mentioned that in 1984 he read a Reader Digest program where Sheboygan was rated as the greatest place to raise a family. Actually, that was from the 1997 issue, and Dan must have been reading an old issue. But we did have that rating in 1997, and I moved here in the early 90s. We were able to live during that time frame. I think we can get back to that. I don't think we're where we need to be with that. So that is of importance as well. And then transparency is a big challenge. We're all aware of the ransomware attack. That happened back in October. Nobody really knows what's happened since then. I know everything that's kind of happened since then, and I don't understand why it can't be out there for the public consumption as to why it happened, how it happened, was it preventable, was it not preventable, what the costs associated were, who was involved with it, all those kind of things I think need to come out and be part of the public discourse. And it's frustrating for me that it hasn't been to date so far.
Thank you, John. Now to Ryan, what are the 3 greatest assets of the city, and how would you build upon them?
Yeah, obviously it's people. I think Sheboygan are salt of the earth folks that like to work hard and play hard as well. We want to make sure that we have a strong community and we all can get along. So I think Sheboyganites are always willing to step up, volunteer, and invest in their community. I think our park system from the city, we have over 36 parks across the board, from small parks like N Park to big parks like Evergreen Park. Those are some of our most used assets across the community. In the summertime, they are booked. Folks have events, folks have picnics. It brings families and communities together as well. And obviously our local businesses, and more importantly, our restaurants, I feel like are one of our strongest assets in Sheboygan. We are definitely a hidden foodie gem, from pizza to supper clubs. I mean, Sheboygan really has so many different options when it comes to food selections, and a lot of our business owners work so hard to make sure that their businesses are supported and investing in our community. And I think to strengthen all those, I think having a city government that gets outside the city hall bubble, I think is so important. You have to meet folks where they're at. It's going to the neighborhood associations, sometimes unannounced. Sometimes it's meeting the business owners, having those conversations with them, and making sure we're making smart investments in our public spaces as well, which we have done over the last few years. So.
Thank you. This first to Ryan, and it's 3 parts, so if you need me to repeat any portion, just let me know. So here we go. What is your vision for downtown Sheboygan? What ideas do you have for filling the empty retail spaces downtown? And would you support tax breaks for entrepreneurs to open businesses?
Yeah, so I think Sheboygan, over the last few months, we've really doubled down and focused on our investment in the downtown. I always say the heart of any city is its downtown, and we have so many great things in our downtown, from our library to the Stephanie Weil Center to our restaurants to our small shops like Relish as well. I think it's so important that we're making sure we're increasing housing density down there so we have more foot traffic, so folks want to live in our community, and that foot traffic will help increase our business support as well. I think obviously we have a lot of vacant spaces that we can fill, and I think it's working alongside some key partners like the Chamber of Commerce and the Business Improvement District to making sure we talk with our community members to see what we're missing so we can fill those storefronts. And I think with some of the amazing projects that are going on right now, especially the Stephanie Wow Center's expansion, I think partnering with them, making those smart investments, that's going to draw more business, more retail, more foot traffic downtown in our community and expand our tax base as we go along as well.
Thank you. So John, what is your vision for downtown Sheboygan? What ideas do you have to fill empty retail spaces, and would you support tax breaks for entrepreneurs?
Thank you. My vision is like what's been said before, is having greater density downtown. I think with the greater density comes challenges, and one of the challenges that we have is we need to face it. We need to look at the homeless situation. I talk to different people that have office space for rent downtown. They can't rent the office space right now because there is an issue with the homeless defecating in doorways and intimidating people walking through and different things. So I think that really needs to be tackled. And in order to have higher density downtown and a thriving downtown and office spaces full and storefronts full, we need to address that. And right now, that isn't being done in any kind of meaningful way. We do have nonprofits that are doing their part, and they're doing God's work. They're doing wonderful work. But we need to have collaboration with the county, with Sheboygan Falls, Elkhart Lake, Plymouth, the Sheriff's Department, mental health people, Aurora, behavioral health. We need to get all of that and get that under control. And do I believe in tax breaks? It depends upon what the circumstances are of that, of what the development is and the dollar amounts and how it would be funded and how it would be paid back if it was to be part of a TIF, not part of a TIF. So in general, I do support them if they make sense, but I would have to know more about it in order to make a concrete decision. It would have to be a very specific plan for me to see.
Thank you. The next question is about the marina, and John will start. The marina has always been a financial burden on the property tax, despite the rosy predictions when it was built 30 years ago. It has never made a profit. Do you support the $77 million proposed waterfront marina plan? What changes would you recommend for the plan?
I think that's kind of a loaded question, the 77 million portion of it. That's not an actual, that is a concept. We haven't seen any dollar figures that have come through with any of the different particulars as far as that plan goes. The third-party managers that the city engaged with for years mismanaged the marina, and it was not done correctly. Also, the city did not do its due diligence in oversight of those third-party managers, and there was issues with that too. So I think there's blame on both sides. Does it need to be addressed? Yes. Is it going to be $77 million? No. And I do think it can be vibrant and fantastic. You've got the Armory site right next door. That's critical to what happens there. You've got the pedestrian bridge coming across there. That is going to be critical to what happens with the marina and DeLand Park. Also, you've got the Pent Air site that is a prime piece of real estate for development. So all of those things figure into it. And again, I will go back to the South Point Business Park, getting that filled up with high-paying jobs and having that increase the tax base will drive more traffic to that area as well, and that will have an impact too. But again, we need a comprehensive plan to be able to understand how those different pieces are going to work in conjunction with each other and what is going to be prioritized and what dollars we're going to allocate to it.
Okay, Brian, the marina has always been a financial burden on the property tax, has never made a profit. Do you support the $77 million proposed plan, and what changes would you recommend?
Yeah, I don't think anybody supports the $77 million plan at the marina. You know, when that plan was put together, it really came out as like a Sears catalog. You know, everything under the sun is in that. I think there's certain aspects that we do appreciate, but I think there's a lot in there that a lot of us, especially council members and myself, do not support as well. The marina is $66 million in debt. For 30 years, again, to your point, it's never made a profit. In 2022, the bar only made $3,000 in revenue. To run a bar that only makes $3,000 of revenue, I mean, there's something that is broken there, you know, and not to mention that there is a public pool down there that is only used for private use that, again, needs $250,000 of upgrades and renovation. I think taking the step back, when our contract was able to, when we were able to cancel our contract, we canceled it, took it in-house, and now we haven't breaking even on it, but we're making it more financially stable for the long term. There's about 175 slips down at the marina. Only 36 of folks that live in Sheboygan County rent slips down there, and only 11 folks that live in the city of Sheboygan rent slips down there as well. If we're going to make investments down at the marina, we have to make sure that it is a public space that we all can enjoy, and it's not just a private country club on the water. So I think there's a lot of great ideas in the marina plan, like expanding the restaurant, making sure that we can make it, you know, enhance the park space around there, making sure that we can make it an entertainment venue for family, neighbors, and citizens all across Sheboygan as well.
Thank you. Next question. Posed first to Ryan. In 2024, the City Council approved several tax increment financing loans, which total several $millions for new housing and developer incentives. Do you think Sheboygan should continue to take out more TIFs in the future, or how do you think the city should handle developing more housing?
I think TIFs are an essential tool for development in the city of Sheboygan. And across the state of Wisconsin, cities are very limited with what we can do to incentivize development in our communities. I think if it makes sense, if the math works and TIDs can help incentivize a project and bring more housing to our community, I think that would work, and I would be supportive of that. A lot of the new TIDs that we just recently established, we didn't establish those, again, with a shotgun approach. We made sure that we had plans and we had certain developments lined up before we established those TIDs. And we're working with a lot of our local businesses that want to grow and expand right here in Sheboygan as well, because they see that we've had some strong TID performance in the future. So I think we're getting a lot of things queued up, a lot of awesome projects across the city. You see some of them happening downtown. You see some of the housing initiatives on the far south side that we've started. Jacob Hall, the old Lick Keys Meat Market. We've seen housing initiatives go there because we've established a TID. So if it makes sense and the finances work, I am supportive of using TID for development.
Thank you. So John, your turn. Do you think Sheboygan should continue to take out more TIFs in the future, or how do you think the city should handle developing more housing?
I'm not opposed to them. Do we need to take out more? It depends upon where the development is. Some of the development that may be coming may be in an existing TID, and we don't need to take out a new one. But I'm not opposed to that. As Ryan mentioned, it is a tool for the city to incentivize developers. Right now, we have a crisis for homes, and whether it's apartments or single-family homes, and we create these to incentivize the developers to come here and put these up. There's going to be one at the memorial site for the 21 homes. Part of that TID is going to help pay for the about $1.6 million infrastructure, because that sewer and water lines are so old there on 6th and 7th Street. They need to be redone. If you were to put laterals in there, I mean, you would cave in that ductile pipe. So that's going to be redone. And in doing so, in putting that in the TID, it does not affect the taxpayers. So the city is about $55 million in debt right now, and they've got the capacity for another $124 million. I'm not in favor of piling on debt. I'm in favor of paying off debt. When I was an alderman in 2012 to 18, we reduced the debt from 66 million to 28 million. So I'm in favor of reducing debt whenever possible and paying off those TIDs. But again, they are a tool to use to incentivize developers and get the development that we need in the city.
Thank you. And we're up to question 7, which goes first to John. Some Wisconsin cities are offering incentives to city employees if they live in the city. Would you support this plan for Sheboygan?
I've got mixed feelings on this. I think if you are a city employee, you should want to live in the place where you work, but at the same time, I feel that we need to get the best people that we can to work at the city in various departments. We've been understaffed in different areas in getting people here, and so I wouldn't make it mandatory. I would like instead to make Sheboygan the greatest place again to raise a family, to get that recognition across the country that Sheboygan is a fantastic place to live, to play, to raise a family, and just incentivize people that way that, you know, Sheboygan is fantastic. I should live here. I work here. Why wouldn't I want to live here? And also when we did the housing study, we found out that it's interesting that a majority of the people live extremely close to where they work. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting to find out. So, but again, I wouldn't make it mandatory. I would be highly encouraging of it. And, you know, but again, we want to attract the best talent we can.
Ryan, would you support offering incentives to city employees if they live in the city?
I think conceptually, yes, I would support that plan. I know the state government has really preempted local governments in terms of this topic, but I think we have the ability to get creative. But again, some feedback that we've gotten from employees that want to move to the city is we don't have enough housing. So I think we have to keep our foot on the gas, making sure we're tackling our housing priorities to build more housing here so folks would want to work and live in the community that they contribute back to as well. So yes, I'd be generally supportive of that concept.
And Ryan, what are your ideas for lowering property taxes without reducing services? How can expenses be reduced without raising taxes or diminishing services?
I think, again, Wisconsin is way too dependent on property taxes. I think as a state, you know, whether it's, you know, the city, the county, school district, technical board, or technical school, excuse me, we are too reliant on that. And I think there's been a lot of progress made at the state level to increase what's called shared revenue. Making sure that we're bringing the taxes that we pay to the state back home. 2 years ago, I was part of a coalition of mayors that worked diligently meeting with state legislators to bring home our tax dollars and that shared revenue, making sure that we have a more diversified revenue source for our community from that end. But also, Sheboygan, we're all known as the Malibu of the Midwest because of our strong tourism market. And when you stay at a hotel, you pay a percentage, which is called the room tax. And the city gets a portion of that. We get about 30% of the room tax back to a city. So the more increased tourism that we have, we do get a portion of that room tax back there. So I think diversifying our revenue streams is going to be very important. I think another initiative that we need to do is review all of our fees that we pay, making sure that they're aligned with other peer communities, make sure that it makes sense as well. So diversifying our revenue streams, I think, is key to making sure that we're not so dependent on property taxes.
Thank you. John, what are your ideas for lowering property taxes without reducing services?
Thank you. We've got a fantastic industrial park on the south side that is empty. We fill that up. We have fantastic jobs that are created. We have increased the tax base. It's going to help significantly. And it's not going, you know, all the infrastructure is already there. So we just need to attract and fill that up. So that would be a fantastic way to maintain the level of services that we have and increase the tax base. Also, I was against the county sales tax, and I fought it hard when I was an alderman. And because of the grossly unfair nature of the shared revenue that comes back to the city is about 47% of the population of the county. The city by far has the most miles of roads. That half-cent sales increase was going to bring in, at that time, $9.8 million a year. I think it's up to like $13, $14, $15 million a year that it's bringing in. Of that, the county gives back $400,000 to the city of Sheboygan. That's it. And it's designated for transportation, so we use it for our road infrastructure. So I think if we negotiate with the county to get a more fair and equitable return on the taxes that the citizens of Sheboygan pay and generate for the county, I think that would go a long way too, and it would boost the infrastructure that we could, the yearly miles of roads that we could resurface within the city. I think it's just a gross misjustice that's being done, and we're being taken advantage by the county, and I would work to remedy that.
Thank you, John. And the next question goes first to John. How will you encourage and include women, young adults, and members of various ethnic communities to serve on communities and participate in city government?
I would just tell my story. I'm obviously not a minority or anything like that, but it's very rewarding being an alderman, being on a committee, following your passion, doing something like that. I don't care whether you're a woman or a minority or whatever. It's very rewarding to give back to your community, and I would encourage anybody to do that. You could do outreach for different communities, the Hispanic community, the Hmong community, I don't know how you get them to want to do something like that. As mayor, the mayor obviously has the ability to make appointments to different committees. So that is one way that you could attract, different minorities and women. But I just think, just making people aware of how tremendous an opportunity like this is to have a say in how the city is run, how the dollars are spent, how your community is built. I think just getting the word out would do a lot.
So Ryan, how will you encourage and include women, young adults, and members of various ethnic communities to serve on committees and participate in city government?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it comes back to getting outside the City Hall bubble. I think it's been a key, it's a big role of the mayor to meet with different groups, whether it's the Hmong Association, whether it's the Black American Community Outreach Group, whether it's groups like AAUW. I think getting out of City Hall, meeting with these groups, building those authentic relationships is so important. And that's something that we've done over the last 4 years. We actually created a new initiative where citizens can apply to serve on all the boards and committees that we have. And it's sharing that tool and that resource with them so that they can get more involved in government. Sometimes serving on a board or committee can be intimidating, but I think it's building those one-on-one relationships with those groups, with those different community organizations, and bringing them along on the journey, I think is so important. Building those authentic relationships is key for that long-term success and involvement. And it brings new ideas and new perspectives when we're making decisions, whether it's on the Plan Commission, whether it's on Redevelopment Authority, whether it's on the Mayor's International Committee. Having folks with different backgrounds, different perspectives, help sharpen our ideas, make sure that we can make our community more reflective of all of our citizens.
Thank you. And you're up next on this one as well. The city has commissioned 2 housing studies, both of which recommended changes to our zoning rules to enable more affordable housing types: ADUs, small houses on small lots, duplexes, and townhomes. How can the city move forward with these recommendations, and would such changes adequately address the homeless population? And I'm going to say the ADUs is accessory dwelling units.
Yeah. So I love talking about zoning. Our zoning code is way outdated. It's decades old, and there is some bureaucratic red tape in there that we have to make sure that not only reduces setback requirements, making sure that we have the accessibility to build ADUs and other types of housing units as well. The number one cause, the number one correlation with having an increased homeless population in your city is when you have less housing availability across the board. Right now in Sheboygan, we have less than a percent of vacancy rate in the city. And for a city of our size, we need a vacancy rate anywhere between 5 and 7% right now. There's a high demand and low supply, which sends costs up through the roof right now. So the higher cost and a lack of availability for housing makes it more difficult. So when we get more creative, when we modernize our zoning code, this opens up the gates so that we can build more housing all across the board, from single family homes, ADUs, townhouses, you name it. Modernizing that along the way will help take a big step forward. It won't solve all of our problems, but it'll be a big step forward.
Okay, John, as I said, the housing studies recommended changes to zoning rules to enable more affordable housing types, such as ADUs, small houses on small lots, duplexes, and townhomes. How can the city move forward with those recommendations, and would such changes adequately address the homeless population?
Again, the zoning within the city has been a challenge, and it does need to be addressed. Within certain areas, neighborhoods, higher density areas, the smaller homes and the ADUs, would fit. We need to figure out where those areas are and where we can do that. But again, it's a function of the zoning. And the correlation with the homeless, we just had a committee of the whole meeting last week regarding the homeless issue, and it certainly revolved around the access to housing, and that was the main point that kept getting driven back and forth, during that meeting. So it is something that should be addressed. And I will work with the Plan Commission in the zoning to make sure that we do address it in an adequate fashion. And I think people should be able to put, different types of dwellings on their property as long as it meets the code. And right now it doesn't. So we need to address that.
Thank you. And the next question goes first to John then. In December 2023, the council passed a resolution directing the Department of Public Works to create a complete streets policy to improve citizen accessibility and all forms of mobility within our community. The target completion date was the end of 2024, so that 2025 projects would be guided by it. This has yet to be completed, and no official updates have been given. How can the complete streets policy become a reality, John?
I sit on the Department of Public Works committee, and we have not had one update on that since I was on it in April of last year. So it hasn't been anything that has been on the forefront in the Public Works Department that I'm aware of. They may be working behind the scenes and not bringing it forth to the committee, but again, I haven't seen anything. We did years ago go through when there was a $25 million grant, paint bike lines throughout the city. We did make, bike lanes. We've done, all sorts of different things. I know Brian is sitting here in the audience. He is concerned that the pedestrian bridge is bike friendly, and that has been addressed as well. So the new pedestrian bridge that is going to be built connecting South Pier to the other side of the river will be bike friendly and obviously pedestrian friendly. So there are making strides with what we do with the streets and with bike lanes. We've got the bicycle group here right now. When we were talking about the mountain bike path in the park, we also brought up if they would get involved with road biking as well. And road biking, obviously, in a city is inherently dangerous. So I think we can make strides and improve on awareness for drivers. There's a lot of distracted driving, and I'm a bike rider. I think that we can do better as far as that goes as well. But again, we haven't seen anything in DPW as far as an updated plan or a completion date or action items as that goes.
Thank you. So Ryan, the Complete Streets policy has yet to be completed and no official updates have been given. How can the Complete Streets policy become a reality?
Yeah, so I think the holdup with that was we applied for a federal grant to cover our cost to develop this program. So obviously the feds love moving at a fast pace, and that's created a lot of setbacks for that. But I know the Public Works Department has either just sent out the RFP or will be sending out the RFP within the next week to move forward with that process as well. You know, when we're out meeting with neighborhood associations and community groups, one of the key themes that we hear from them is complaints about speeding, reckless driving, not safe intersections, parks not being safe. And I think having a complete streets policy integrated into our capital plans when we're fixing roads makes our neighborhood safer, makes our parks safer, really helps address reckless driving, speeding, and the noise associated with that as well. And again, make sure that all modes of transportation are safe and accessible, from biking to walking your dog as well, and as well as cars. So I think, you know, our DPW committee chairman is here too, so hopefully he'll put it on the agenda in a future meeting to get an update on that project. But I think this is something we've been very excited for a long time. And I think when we fix our roads, it's about not just slapping a Band-Aid on it, it's about modernizing our process along the way, and having a complete streets program will help us take a step forward. So.
Okay, thank you. Next question.
Can I ask a question real quick? Just, Ryan, do you know when that would be completed? As far as if the RFP goes out, do you know what the timeline is on that?
I think it was a month and a half for the RFP to go out. Kevin Jump, our city engineer, is the project lead on that, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and this goes first to Ryan. The council has approved a plan to redo Fountain Park for $5 million. Do you approve of spending $5 million to redo the park?
Oh, I think there's parts of the plan that I'm supportive of, and then there's parts of the plan I'm not supportive of. And when this came to the council, I vocalized that. Fountain Park is a great downtown park that gets a lot of activity. You know, the farmers market there, we used to have something called Winterfest down there as well. I think, you know, many different community groups use it. And I think, you know, the band shell, it needs a lot of love. It needs a lot of TLC. The fountain itself needs a lot of mechanical fixtures as well. And we've been having some great conversations with SCIO, who runs the farmers market, and they're at capacity. You know, they've been meeting with us. They said, we have a waiting list of new vendors that want to come to our farmers market. So we took a step back. We found some funding to really look at, okay, if we're going to make some fixes to this park, what's going to be the broader scale? How do we make these investments so it works in the long term? I think one of the things I do not support in the plan is removing the band shell. I think the band shell is a key community icon that does need some fixtures within the bathroom, needs some new paint as well. And I think it makes us take a step back and reflect, how can we make sure these assets are used more? What is some of that internal bureaucracy that we can cut back on so that more folks can rent these facilities, our parks facilities? We can get more bands to utilize the Fountain Park band shell as well. I think these are conversations we're having and making sure that we can implement them along the way so everybody has more access to our parks.
Okay, thank you. John, do you approve of spending $5 million to redo the park?
No. That's the simple answer. Not $5 million. Again, I go back to not having a comprehensive plan. So if we had a comprehensive plan, we would be able to look at the marina and Fountain Park at the same time and see what are going on with both of these parks. We've got ice ribbons in both parks. Why do we have to have ice ribbons in both parks right now as far as the concept plan goes? You know, let's pick one or the other. To me, it doesn't make sense to have an ice ribbon where you've got a bunch of sand down, you know, in DeLand Park by the marina. But there's some features there that I don't agree with, and there's a lot of questions that I have. We've got a parklet a block away. Why do we have a parklet and then we're going to put $5 million in a block away to Fountain Park? I think Fountain Park needs revitalization to the tune of $5 million. I'm not sure. There is a promenade that is going to go around where the food trucks would park. I'm not sure if, you know, for the electrical, who's going to pay for that? Are the food trucks going to pay for that? The food truck right now within the city is kind of like the Wild Wild West, and that needs to be regulated as well. And so I've got a lot of questions about what's going on. I disagree with Ryan on the band shell. Right now, the ban shell is a magnet for drug use. I hear stories from DPW where they have to wear special gloves when they're cleaning out the garbage because they've been stuck with needles in the past. So it's a magnet for drug use and unseemly behavior that's going on over there. I think it needs to be addressed and modernized or moved or lit up at to discourage the kind of activity that's going on there right now.
Okay, now we're going to switch gears a little bit. We've got a few questions that are posed to just one of the candidates for various reasons. So the next one here is for Ryan. Ryan, as member and vice chair of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Cities Initiative, how do you plan to move the city toward any sustainability goals? What has the organization done to protect Lake Michigan's freshwater, and are you going to disband the Sustainable Sheboygan Task Force?
Okay, a few questions in there. First of all, I'm the chair of the organization, not the vice chair.
Oh, okay.
I think it's been a great organization to be a part of as well. I think where you're a member of an organization, whether it's the Great Lakes Initiative, whether it's the League of Municipalities, you want to make sure that you have an ROI, you have a return on investment when you're part of these organizations. Obviously, being a city on the lake, we are very susceptible to erosion that happens being on the Great Lake. I think we just got a grant that is going to help us invest and move forward with implementing the engineering aspect of our Lakeshore Erosion Protection Plan. So that's been a big success that we've had as well, too. It's also collaborating with other mayors to make sure that we can prevent invasive carp from getting into our lake. Sheboygan has one of the largest charter fishing fleets on Lake Michigan right now. And if invasive carp got into Lake Michigan, it would really be detrimental to our lakeshore and the fishing industry as well. So those are some of the key initiatives that organization has brought back and has benefited the city. And short answer is no, I don't plan to disband that committee. I think it needs to be reworked. I think that they need to have their own internal plan and direction as well to move forward so that we can implement more sustainable practices for the city.
All right. Then, John, the question for you is, would you disband the Sustainable Sheboygan Task Force? Why or why not?
I know there's some challenges with it right now. I don't sit on it, and I would need to learn a little bit more about it. I would certainly look at it very hard. I don't think disbanding it is the answer. I think it serves a valuable function. We do have members that come and lobby us for different initiatives. One member in particular has this thing for solar roofs, and we're redoing the roof at DPW and wanted us to put solar on the roof at DPW. Well, it didn't make any kind of economic sense to do that, and and it was alluded to us that we had a moral obligation to do so. Well, we have a fiscal obligation to do what's best for the taxpayers as well. So the additional cost was outrageous to do that, so we didn't move forward. We are spending $2.1 million to put a new roof on the building at DPW. It was that or have the leaky roof affect very expensive equipment that is stored in it, and that wasn't an option. So we're moving forward without the solar panels on the roof. So, it's things like that we need to look at. It's a very passionate group. But again, I think there needs to be cost justifications if we're going to implement some of the ideas. But I don't think it's worth disbanding. I think it just needs to be updated and look at their mission and have a more focused effort on their behalf.
Thank you. We're up to question 15 now, and this is to Ryan. The mayor is the chairman of the Plan Commission. What is your role and responsibility as chair of the commission?
So I think you have your formal obligation, obviously running the meeting, making sure that, you know, the agendas are getting posted and we're conducting business. But it's really that advocate role when you're working with small businesses. I think a lot of, you know, at the Alder Forum, they just talked about some of the complexities to get a permit for a sign or, you know, how to expand a business. It's the mayor's job to sit down, be an advocate for those small businesses, help them, connect them to the right staff, making sure that you're answering questions that they have, connecting them to resources, grant opportunities, making sure that you can kind of play that you know, air traffic controller role, making sure that you're helping guide projects forward as well, kind of behind the scenes and being that forward-facing advocate with businesses wanting to grow and expand in the community as well. So we have a lot of fun projects that always come through the Plan Commission. John and I are on it together, and I think, you know, whether it's, you know, changing the zoning ordinance so someone can build a new housing unit, whether it's helping a business grow and expand and tweaking the PDU process for that, I think those are some of the technical aspects that come to the Plan Commission as well, and that's kind of the role of the chair.
Thank you. And the next question is for John. John, you are a member of the Plan Commission. At the November meeting, the Black River Golf Course was on the agenda. Protocol asks that at the start of the meeting, members register a conflict of interest. Another commission member who works for Kohler Company did not speak and abstained from voting. You work for the Kohler Hospitality Division, which oversees the Kohler golf courses, a major implicit conflict of interest. You did not recuse yourself, and you were the only commission member to speak on the topic, and you voted on the issue. Why didn't you register your conflict of interest and recuse yourself?
I'm going to be careful what I say because there is pending litigation on that right now, and I am named in that. So I will correct a couple things. I no longer work for Kohler Company. I worked for Kohler Company in hospitality. I did not have anything to do with anything in Sheboygan County. I strictly worked with the property that they have up in Green Bay. Therefore, I will say that I had no conflict of interest. I received no benefit, and I voted because there was no conflict of interest.
Thank you. And we're up to the last question now, which will be posed to both of you. Ryan first. Sheboygan is a green tier legacy community which reflects our commitment to sustainable growth. Should the city invest in electric vehicles for municipal use and grow infrastructure to make Sheboygan more EV friendly?
So the Green Tier program that we've been a part of for 10 years now has been a great success and has brought more grant money, more funding all across the board. And I think that's a great resource that we tap into. I think depending on the electric vehicle type, it has to make sense. I think there are some aspects that make it challenging. Right now, you know, we're in winter in Wisconsin. When the battery life doesn't last too long when it's cold, that doesn't make sense. I think we made a first step forward. We got a grant. We added a few hybrids to our fleet, both in the police department and for some of the other vehicles that city staff use as well, too. So I think jury's still out on what's effective for an EV vehicle for the city, but I think evaluating the need, making sure that we find the hybrid option first, see what works. I know some of our cop cars are hybrids and our officers love them. So it saves us costs in the long term on fuel. So making those smart investments and making sure we see where it works and where it doesn't work, I think is the step forward.
Thank you. So John, should the city invest in electric vehicles for municipal use and grow infrastructure to make Sheboygan more EV friendly?
No. And the reason I say that is that the technology isn't there yet. So the city buses, DPW trucks, heavy axle vehicles, the battery usage, you know, and the power consumption that would be needed would be tremendous. And again, Ryan mentioned we do have a winter season here. You know, the battery life wouldn't last very long. Nobody knows what the life of these batteries are, and the creation of the batteries is not a green operation. The minerals that are used and taken, you know, from the ground and to create these things is very, very destructive to the environment. And so I'm not in favor of doing that. We don't have the technology where it needs to be. I am in favor of hybrid vehicles. Those make sense. But again, not to just wholesale go, we're going to start moving towards electric vehicles. It does not make sense. It would not be fiscally sound. It would be a poor decision, especially in our climate.
All right, that was the last question, and thank you both for attending. That concludes our mayoral forum now. I also want to thank Scott Mealiff and WSCS for taping the forum and for running it throughout their schedule until the election. Thank you all for attending. You obviously care about local politics. Please talk to your family and friends and take somebody else to the polls or send somebody to the polls. So just go vote.
I would just like to thank everybody for showing up and having interest in the mayoral race, so thank you for coming. Engaged citizens mean a lot, so if there's anything that you want to follow up with me, please reach out. I would be happy to answer any questions, so thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Good job.